The calendar on my phone blinked, a tiny cake icon, a mocking reminder. 31. No one else marked it. Been awake for hours already, the chill of the morning clinging to the air outside. My feet slid into worn steel-toe boots, familiar and heavy. Pulled on the faded work shirt next, another double shift waiting at the auto shop. Rent doesn't pause for birthdays. Overdue bills don't send polite RSVPs. The shop's fluorescent lights bust, a low hum that usually just blended into the background. Clocked in 2 minutes early, mostly habit, partly because I hated just standing around. Barely logged onto my break room playlist, the usual forgotten tunes, when my screen lit up. Mallory. My heart gave a little pinch, a stupid, hopeful flicker. A simple happy birthday, maybe? A promise of leftover cake after her shift? A hug that didn't feel like an obligation? Instead, the words cut deeper than any wrench I'd turned all week. I sold your car. My family comes first. Be grateful I let you live here. My breath caught like I'd swallowed a shard of glass. I blinked, staring at the screen, thinking it had to be a joke. Maybe Orion's idea of twisted humor. But the seconds ticked by. No follow-up emoji, no explanation, just those stark words hanging there. Before I could even think of a reply, another notification popped up. Oh, and my brother Orion's college tuition is due. $5,200. You'll cover it. The phone felt heavier, a dead weight I nearly dropped onto the concrete floor. I stared at those numbers, $5,200, scraped together for his art history classes while I scrambled to cover my own rent, utilities, groceries. My fingers moved without thought. Not happening. The hammer blow landed almost immediately. Then pack your ass, you're dead to me. I sank against the cool metal locker, the echo of the message reverberating in my skull. My heart pounded, not with surprise. Hell, this storm had been brewing since I signed every utility bill, wired every tuition transfer, cleaned every dusty corner of the house they treated like it was theirs, not mine, but with a fierce, hollow relief. I was done. My fingers trembled as I locked the phone and slid it into my pocket. Worked the rest of the shift with a measured calm, greasing brake pads and sharpening saw blades. My mind replayed every silent sentence I'd swallowed. You'll cover it. Be grateful. Dead to me. Each one had sewn another stitch in the cage I'd built around myself. In the roar of the compressor, I heard my own pulse steady into a decision. I would not beg. I would not plead. I would simply leave. The shop's afternoon lull gave me time. 2 words to Ronan. Need couch. His reply, immediate and without prying, come now. Shut down the computers, unloaded tools, walked out beneath a sky turning the color of bruised blue. Appropriate, I thought. Texted Mallory a single line. I'm done. No apology, no last-minute compromise. I wanted my words to echo in the kitchen where she would see them first. Walking the 3 blocks home, a brittle calm settled around me. Each footfall on the cracked pavement sounded like freedom. When I reached the house, the front door was unlocked, as always. Stepped inside to the familiar hum of the refrigerator and the ghost of dinner dishes left soaking in the sink. Mallory stood at the counter, peeling carrots with meticulous precision. Her hair pulled into a tight bun, expression unreadable except for the tightness in her jaw. She didn't look up. The faucet ran too loud, almost like she was trying to drown out my presence with the hiss of hot water and the scrape of steel wool. She wore the cardigan I bought her last Christmas, and for a moment it stung to see it clinging to someone who could send a message like that and still move through the day unbothered. Her mother Trish lounged in the living room with a glass of red wine, balanced like a trophy in her hand, legs crossed, one slipper dangling from her toes. The TV was on mute, some crime show flickering across the screen, casting pale light on her smug face. She glanced at me once, then back to her glass, like I wasn't worth the full tilt of her attention. Conrad, her husband, was stretched out in the recliner, not sleeping, listening. I saw the slight twitch in his eyelid every time the floor creaked. His chest rose a little too rhythmically, like he was pretending to nap just to avoid being part of the conversation. Dropped my bags beside the couch. The sound echoed in the silence. "Where's my car?" My voice steady. No one answered, stepped further in. "Mallory, where is it?" She scrubbed harder. Trish smirked into her wine and muttered, "You should be thanking us. That car was a luxury, not a right." Turned toward her. "It was in my name." Trish rolled her eyes. "But you used our driveway, our gas money, our insurance plan. What's yours is ours when you live under our roof." "Interesting math," I echoed, not bothering to mask the bitterness lacing my tone. Still, no eye contact, just the soft clink of glass as Trish refilled her wine. Turned back to Mallory. "And the tuition?" "Orion's tuition." She finally spoke, voice flat as granite. "He's family. You're not—" There it was, not wrapped in sarcasm or indirect jabs. Just the truth. I was a placeholder, a resource, a living wallet that could be guilted and manipulated until I had the audacity to say no. Looked around the house. Every item I bought stood like a monument to my mistake. The Wi-Fi router I installed sat on the mantel. The smart TV I brought home last year glowed with a muted crime scene. The couch I carried up 2 flights of stairs now cradled Trish like a throne. My fingerprints were on everything. My name backed the bills. But my presence, it didn't matter. Nodded slowly, more to myself than anyone else. Walked into the bedroom. Unzipped the bags I'd packed at Ronan's. Didn't unpack. Wasn't staying. Reached into the drawer of the nightstand and pulled out a small manila envelope. Wasn't time for that yet, but I wanted to know it was still there. Slid it back carefully, turned to the closet, grabbed a few more shirts, my sneakers. A USB drive I kept stashed behind the bookshelf. No one came in, no one asked where I was going. They were probably waiting for me to scream, to beg, to perform one last scene of loyalty. But I didn't. Zipped up the bags, walked back through the house, paused by the kitchen door. Mallory finally looked at me. Her eyes weren't angry. They were blank. "I paid for the car," I said calmly, "and 100 other things. But don't worry, you'll figure it out." She opened her mouth like she was about to reply, but nothing came out. Stepped past her, my shoulder brushing hers ever so slightly. She flinched, not because I touched her, but because I didn't flinch in return. As I reached the door, Trish called after me. "You're making a mistake. This is your family." I didn't even turn around. Number this was my silence. "And you mistook it for consent." Just like that, I walked out, closing the door behind me. The air outside felt colder, but it was real. It didn't smother, it didn't judge. I could hear traffic in the distance, the bark of a dog, the rustle of leaves, sounds that didn't belong to them. They could have the house, the walls, the wine, and the control. I had something better, myself, and that was more than they ever gave me credit for. Ronan's loft was a glorified garage with a slanted ceiling and windows that groaned in the wind. But when I stepped inside, it felt like a cathedral. Not because it was beautiful, far from it, but because it was mine, in the way that matters. No judgment, no silent expectations waiting to be violated, just a stained couch, a busted heater, and the distant scent of old oil. Ronan tossed me a spare key and a bottle of ginger ale. No questions, no pity, just a nod. "Bathroom's down the hall. Cat's name is Mercury. He likes the top of your head." I chuckled, the sound strange in my throat. "Good to know." Dropped my bags beside the couch, eased onto the cushions, and exhaled. For what felt like the first time all year. Mercury jumped up minutes later, a slender tabby with yellow eyes. Curled himself around the back of my neck like a scarf, and began to purr loudly, insistently. I didn't push him away. There was a strange comfort in the weight of something warm and living leaning into me, even if it was a cat with trust issues and a habit of licking hair. Stared at the ceiling for a long time. It was cracked and water-stained, probably from years of neglect, but it didn't stare back with disappointment or expectation. It didn't care that I wasn't where I was supposed to be, some doting husband in Mallory's picture-perfect life. It just existed, honest in its brokenness. The quiet felt like a second skin, one I hadn't worn in years. Pulled out my phone, not to check in, not to explain, but to begin the work of unhooking. First, I logged into the mortgage portal. My name was on the payments because years ago, when Mallory had begged me to just help us get the loan, I had agreed without hesitation. I was the one with the credit, the one with the reliable job history, disabled the autopay with a few taps, no dramatic exit, no final warning, just a quiet severing. Then came the streaming services. Logged out of every profile, changed the passwords, revoked access on every device, Disney Plus, Netflix, Spotify, all of it. Didn't do it out of pettiness. Did it because I finally understood that my presence in their lives had been transactional, a means to an end. I had become an invisible concierge, available 24/7. Next, I hit the utility companies, water, power, gas, removed myself from every joint account. Mallory could call them if she wanted. They were in her zip code, not mine. Now I didn't owe her another watt of electricity. As I worked, I started a spreadsheet, not to guilt myself, to remember every bill I'd paid, every tuition fee I'd transferred, every emergency fund I'd coughed up for Orion, Trish, or Conrad, listed dates, amounts, screenshots, not for them, for me, to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy, that the sacrifices were real, and the erasure was deliberate. By midnight, my eyes burned from the screen's glare, but I wasn't tired. I was wired, alert, felt the way I imagined soldiers feel the first night after defecting from a war they never believed in. Not free exactly, not yet, but removed, distant, awake. Ronan came out around 1 a.m. in a worn hoodie, scratching his beard. "You need anything?" I shook my head. "Just clarity." He nodded like he understood, which was exactly why I'd called him and not someone else. "You got it. Take your time, eat scrap, but I got extra blankets." "I'll be fine." He hesitated at the doorway. "You did the right thing leaving." I met his eyes. "Even if it hurts, especially if it hurts." He went back to bed. Mercury shifted to curl on my chest like a weighted question I didn't want to answer. I laid back again and closed my eyes. But I didn't sleep. I listened to the sound of pipes clicking, of the city far off humming with lives not entwined with mine. There was no drama here, no insults masquerading as love, no guilt draped in obligation, just space. The next morning I woke to a dozen missed calls, half from Mallory, half from her mother, one from Orion, didn't open any of them. Instead I made a cup of coffee with Ronan's chipped French press, sat on the floor next to the drafty window, and sipped in silence. It was strange how easy it was to let go once the noise stopped. I had always thought love was supposed to be complicated, a constant negotiation, but what I'd lived through wasn't love. It was leverage. I was useful, not cherished. That morning, I drafted a few emails, one to the bank confirming my removal from any shared auto loans, one to the university's finance department requesting proof of the tuition payments I'd made for Orion. I wasn't burning bridges. I was documenting what I built. So if anyone ever tried to twist the story, I had my truth. Paper trails don't lie. I also sent myself a long message, a digital letter. It started with, "Remember why you left." Then it spilled out every little detail. The birthday they forgot, the anniversary I spent alone fixing their busted plumbing while they went wine tasting, the way Trish always called me the helper when company was over, the time Orion crashed my car and Conrad made me apologize for overreacting. I typed until my fingers cramped, saved it in a folder titled Evidence of Self. By noon, Mercury had adopted me entirely. He followed me into the kitchen, onto the balcony, even to the bathroom door. He didn't ask for anything. He just showed up. Uncomplicated loyalty. I hadn't had that in years. Sat on the couch and stared at my phone, wondering if I should respond to any of the messages. Mallory had sent a voice note, 17 seconds long. I played it on mute. Her face was still just lips moving and eyebrows twitching. But I didn't care about the sound. I cared that she looked tired. Not because she missed me, but because the engine had stopped, and I had been the engine the entire time. That's when it hit me. They weren't mourning me. They were mourning the convenience I had provided. They weren't panicking because they loved me. They were panicking because they had no passwords, no access, no fallback plan. They called it betrayal, but it was just absence. Mine. And they didn't know how to live without it. That night I took a walk, just a few blocks, hood up, hands in my pockets, past couples in cafes, a father pushing a stroller, an old man sweeping his stoop, lives moving forward. No one knew me. No one needed me to fix anything. It felt good. It felt like the beginning of something honest, something I didn't have to earn through silence. When I came back, Ronan had left a takeout container on the counter. A sticky note on top read, "Chicken. Lame. You always liked that crap." I smiled. It was more kindness than I'd received in months, and I hadn't had to bleed for it. It started with the Wi-Fi, of course it did. The morning after I shut everything down, Mallory sent a group text. Why is the Wi-Fi out? No punctuation, just a demand. I saw the message light up my screen while mercury stretched across my chest. I didn't respond. Wasn't their IT department anymore. Let them call the provider. Let them fumble with passwords I had memorized. I took a sip of lukewarm coffee and watched the storm begin. Within 10 minutes, Trish chimed in. Netflix isn't working either. Then Orion, everything's offline, WDH is going on. They were unraveling. All I'd done was walk away. Another buzz. Mallory, what the hell did you do? Still, I said nothing, sat in Ronan's creaky chair, scrolling through the endless thread of messages. Like watching a play I no longer had a role in. I'd played the provider for so long, I'd forgotten what it looked like to see them scramble without me. Their entitlement was laid bare. They weren't angry because they'd lost me. They were angry because they'd lost access. My phone buzzed again. Mallory, direct message. Why are you doing this to me? You're being petty. Ronan leaned back. You're building peace now. Takes time, messy start, but it gets quieter. I believed him. The alternative was worse. Going back to that silence where I had to apologize for existing. Before bed, I checked the chat. Trish copying old emails, Conrad silent, Mallory asking friends for a tech guy. They were trying to rebuild what they had broken without me. They wouldn't be able to. I was the structure, the administration, the quiet architect of their convenience, powered off my phone, slipped under the blanket, mercury nestled against my ribs, the heater groaned, the city hummed, and I slept. Not with vengeance, but with something quieter. Absence. Let them feel it. Let them wonder. This time, I wasn't coming back with an apology. This time, I was the one who left. And I was finally okay with that. It started with Conrad, of all people. The man who said real men don't keep score, airing his grievances on Facebook. Ungrateful freeloaders have no place in a real home, he wrote. Painfully ironic, given I'd paid their electric bill for 14 months. Then Trish added her flourish in the comments. We gave him everything, as if their passive tolerance was a grand inheritance, not just me funding every square foot of their crumbling castle. But what really made me pause was a reply. Wasn't that car in his name? Likes accumulated. The thread began to shift. The narrative started to slip. I didn't say a word. Instead, I opened my meticulously kept files. Mortgage, autopays, tuition, Orion, car title transfer, cold, clean proof. I selected the car title, my name as primary owner, Conrad signed beneath mine like a servant, forwarded it to my cousin Belle. Belle, surgically precise with truth, worked in compliance. Drop this in the family chat. No comment needed. She replied with a thumbs up. Muted the chat. Didn't need to see the explosion. Just needed them to know the matches were in someone else's hands now. My phone vibrated 27 times. 17 calls from Mallory. Didn't answer a single one. Ronan was grilling burgers on the porch. Detonation? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I nodded. Conrad went public. He laughed. Man's playing checkers. You're writing the manual for chess. Sat beside him, watching the smoke curl. It's not revenge, it's just subtraction, he said. You're just pulling your weight off their world. Let it tip. I took a slow sip of beer. Mercury at the screen door blinked at the sky like he owned it. That evening, Mallory's friends started texting me. She's losing it. I didn't know all that was on you. Her version of the story was unraveling. Receipts talked louder than tears. That evening, I caved and checked the family group chat. The title document was there, neatly posted by Belle with a note. Thought we were keeping it real. No anger, no side-taking, just documentation. Aunt Nain chimed in. Wait, he paid your utilities for a year? Uncle Vince, why is Mallory asking him to pay for her brother's tuition? Someone else dropped a meme. A bride, a husband, an ATM, modern love. It was true. Mallory's last text that night read, Why are you doing this to me? I didn't know it would go this far. That line hit me differently. I didn't respond, just read it again, slowly. I didn't know it would go this far, as if this spiral were spontaneous combustion, as if I lit the match by removing the wood she stacked for years. as if silence after abuse is violence. But I knew better. She did know. She just thought I'd never say anything. She just thought I'd keep playing the good soldier. She didn't count on me leaving quietly. She definitely didn't count on me leaving with records. Ronan crashed on the couch beside me with food. You going to respond? No, I said. That's what they expect. Another speech, he nodded. Better to let her sit in it. Exactly, let her sit in the absence. Let them all feel the void of the man they used but never saw. That night, I backed up every file, every screenshot, every message to a secure drive. Not for a campaign, but to preserve my reality. I wasn't erasing the past, I was archiving it. For clarity, for sanity, for proof that I was not some angry dropout spinning lies. I fell asleep with the laptop humming, mercury curled between my ankles. I didn't feel triumphant, but I did feel clean, and that was more than I'd felt in years. Ronan handed me a plate of eggs and rice, a mismatched fork balanced on top. You good? He asked. Define good, I said, but I took the plate anyway. We ate in silence. The TV played some old kung fu movie, audio too low. Didn't matter, I wasn't watching, still turning over Orion's message. A coin I couldn't quite spend. It was an apology, sure, but it came after the fallout. After the support system collapsed, after I withdrew it. It wasn't accountability. It was panic. After breakfast, I pulled out my laptop, checked the backup folder. Every transaction for Orion's schooling was there. PDFs of bank transfers, emails confirming tuition payments, screenshots of texts where Trish said, "Just put it in your name for now." Highlighted one, sent it to my own email for the record. Not planning to use it, just wanted it nearby, just in case the narrative shifted again. My phone buzzed. Orion again. Can we talk? I exhaled long and slow. Texted back. About what? A few seconds passed. About how things got here, I feel like I missed something big. Closest to self-awareness I'd seen from any of them. Maybe in another world I would have said yes. Driven to campus, explained everything like the big brother I used to be. But that version of me was gone, so I wrote, "You didn't miss it, you ignored it, like everyone else." This didn't happen overnight, no reply came. I felt not better, but settled. That afternoon, I walked to the corner store for cat litter, came back to find Ronan fixing the heater, a wrench he didn't really know how to use. I offered to help. Together, we got it humming. Didn't talk about Orion, didn't talk about Mallory, just pipes, seals, the little click that meant something was working. When the warmth kicked in, I watched the room fill, slow and steady. It reminded me of the kind of love I never got from that house. The quiet kind, the kind that doesn't ask for proof or a receipt, the kind that shows up, imperfect but real. That night I didn't check my phone. It sat on the table, buzzing occasionally, flashing, like a child begging for attention. But I didn't pick it up. Nothing more to say to people who only listened when things stopped working. I wasn't anyone's backup generator anymore. The knock came just after 7. Not a timid one. Woke to the quiet hum of Ronan's loft. No frantic texts, no buzzing demands. Just Mercury stretched out beside me, a soft purr vibrating through the mattress. The city outside was waking up too, a distant murmur, but here, in this space, it felt calm. Made coffee, Ronan's chipped French press, the familiar ritual. Sat on the floor by the drafty window, the same spot as yesterday. Sipped slowly, the ease of it, the simple act of existing without obligation. It was still strange, this quiet, like learning to breathe a different air. Mercury jumped onto my lap, kneading my chest with soft paws, then curled into a tight ball. Uncomplicated loyalty. He didn't ask for anything, he just showed up. It was a stark contrast to the years of conditional affection, the love that felt like a transaction. Looked out at the empty rooftops. The city's pulse, muffled at this height. No one knew me here. No one needed me to fix anything. It felt good. A deep, settling good. Like the beginning of something honest, something I didn't have to earn through silence. The phone sat on the table, silent for now. No longer flashing like a demanding child. I had nothing more to say to people who only listened when things stopped working. I wasn't anyone's backup generator anymore. That truth settled deep in my bones. Night came. The heater kicked in with a reluctant groan. The lights buzzed. The city outside kept humming, unaware of the tiny revolution that had happened inside a garage-turned-sanctuary. I slept, not with vengeance in my heart, but with something quieter: absence. Let them feel it, let them wonder. Because this time I wasn't coming back with an apology. This time I was the one who left, and I was finally okay with that. The house where I'd bent myself into silent service now lay behind me, locked out by my own refusal. Tonight I was neither indebted nor confined. Tonight it was just me, and the quiet promise of a life reconstructed on my own terms, unbound, free.